Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another thing where I talk about things. Today, we're going to talk about why fidget spinners. Why are they a thing? And the simple answer is kids. So there you go. That's why fidget spinners. You could just tune out the video now if you like. But actually, I'm going to go into detail as to why this is a thing. Some of you might be aware that children are a huge market on YouTube. They're a huge source of views. And they're one of the reasons why most of the worst and stupidest, most aberrant trends on YouTube get big and popular. And there's kind of some interesting stuff behind this. One of the big things is that YouTube itself is being kind of exploitative of kids, because in the past, traditional kinds of entertainment has not been allowed to be. For a long time, like during the Clinton years especially, back in the 90s, like when I was a kid, they were really big on like, well, what are we actually showing to kids? Like, what is TV showing to kids? We need to pass these regulations on like how do we target children and what are they allowed to watch? Like, there needs to be something entertaining in this stuff. So like I remember this used to be a really big pain for entertainment companies, because they were being told like, well, everything has to be a little bit, you have to have some kind of moral for the children, you know, they have to learn from you or whatever. And so they had to come up with some kind of way to tie in a moral into every little episode. And, you know, that was kind of restrictive. But sometimes they got clever with it, like, you notice shows like Animaniacs and Tiny Toons kind of worked within that bounds, but then they sort of kind of joked around it. So like Animaniacs had their wheel of morality, turn, tell us the lesson that we should learn. And that was kind of their joke on the whole thing, this idea of like, yeah, we'll do a bunch of random stuff, and then we have some moral at the end or something to learn. And they were genuinely educational a couple of times. Like, they would do musical things, like they'd sing all the continents or whatever. And it was kind of fun, and it was kind of cool. So they got around that in a clever way. But not every show, or not everything that everyone wanted to do was necessarily educational like that. But mostly they were focused on young kids. That was the thing, is that they were looking at, like, once you got a little bit older, you could kind of break out, but that had to be like, okay, you know, kids for, shows for kids, like, you know, 13 and older, like, we can do whatever we want with that. So then you got stuff like SWAT Cats or whatever, which was just about two anthropomorphic cats and a fighter jet shooting giant monsters with missiles and radioactivity and stuff like that, and I don't believe that they were quite as well restricted. They didn't have as many, like, you didn't have to have a moral for, cats in a fighter plane, which is great, because cats in a fighter plane was something that needed to happen, and I'm glad that it did. I still remember SWAT Cats very fondly. I don't know that it was a very good show in retrospect. I think I watched some of it and I was like, it's not as good as I remembered, but it's still pretty rad. Like, honestly, not a bad show. Just totally when I was like a young kid, like when I was in like 6th grade. Like, man, that was the coolest thing. So. Anyway, though, for little kids, though, like, little kids are incredibly susceptible to advertising, and a lot of people are aware of this, and they'd really, really love to exploit that market. But there are laws in place that say, like, you can't make a cartoon or a children's programming that is essentially just an infomercial. Like, you can't get Billy Mays up there, you know, partly because he's dead and partly because it would be illegal, and just be like, look at this new toy princess playset, whatever, Twilight Sparkle, I'm gonna play with this toy. You can't make a 30-minute television show where you literally just play with toys and you show kids how fun and great your toy is. But YouTube is weird because it gets around this restriction. They're not really like television programs, and there aren't regulations on this right now. So people can actually just get up there and they can make like a 10 or 15-minute YouTube video, which is, you know, just enough time to grab the attention of a child. Just, you know, 10 minutes, just sit here for 10 minutes and watch me play with the toy. And so they get out there with something like a fidget spinner. And fidget spinner is that classic thing that, like, kids think is really cool, but it's actually super lame. And, you know, you get this all the time. Like, my dad has stories of, like, when I was a kid. He goes, yeah, you know, you would get really excited about this toy. Like, you'd see these commercials, and it would look totally awesome in the commercials. And you say, I want this, I need it. And so come Christmas time, you would get this toy, and you would play with it for, like, I don't know, a half a week, maybe a whole week. And then you'd leave it behind and you'd go back to Legos. Like, that was, like, my dad was just like, yeah, like, there were some toys, like, things like Legos, like, got a ton of mileage out of Legos, you know, also got tons that, like, stepped on them all the time. But still, like, Legos, you know, you played with Legos all the time. That was a wonderful creative toy that you really got into. And I'm so glad I bought you Legos. Tinker Toys was another one that I think we had back when I was a kid, which was like similar to Legos, similar concept. You have all these like little wheels and sticks, and you build stuff out of them. You connect things. Tinker Toys, Play-Doh. Man, kids are really good with creative stuff, is what I'm told. Like, they really love things like that. Markers. You buy them a bunch of markers. They color. Kids like to be creative. But those toys, like, kids don't know any better. They see all this, like, radical stuff in the commercial, and they're like, oh, that's so cool, I gotta have that. And YouTube videos now, there's like thousands of YouTube videos being released of people playing with fidget spinners and acting like fidget spinners are just the coolest thing. Like, everyone's like, oh, fidget spinning, so it's so cool, it's so great, it's so awesome, you gotta have it. And so kids watch the fidget spinner, and they're like, oh, that's so cool, I want to have one. And they ask, like, well, can I have a fidget spinner? And mom and dad are like, no, that is the lamest toy I've ever seen. Like, you're gonna give up on, you're not gonna, like, want to play with that for more than a few days. Like, you're gonna have it for 5 minutes, the novelty's gonna wear off, and you're gonna be done. And so kids just watch video after video of fidget spinner. And it's not technically advertising towards kids. This is one of these things that's interesting, is that YouTube is not technically supposed to gather personal information about children under 13. I believe, like, there's all kinds of rules about what they can actually do. But their system is rather ingenious in that it gets around this stuff because it gathers information from your computer, and it'll watch what your YouTube channel is, like, looking at, and it'll try to promote more stuff to you. So if it sees that you like this kind of toyetic crap, like fidget spinners, and of course adults will also watch this stuff sometimes too, because it's sort of like, I don't know, it just itches a weird part of the animal hindbrain. If it sees that, then it'll show you more of that. And it's not necessarily targeting you because you're a kid, it's just that kids are especially likely to get swept up in it because kids are kind of, they're not necessarily very sharp about this sort of thing. So kids get shown a fidget spinner, and then YouTube's like, oh, you watch this fidget spinner, why don't you watch more toyetic crap? Why don't you watch more advertisements for toys? And so they'll bounce them around from, like, fidget spinners to this or that. And I believe that fidget spinners probably got big because of the those vlog channels of people who play with toys. They play with kids' toys. And so it's got to have been, I figured that's where it started, is it must be that somebody was, like, playing with kids' toys, and they were a big channel that kids go to be advertised to. And then this guy got out this fidget spinner, and he was like, whoa, fidget spinner, wow, woo, I'm having all the fun. And then kids wanted to see more of the fidget spinner, because it's like, wow, what is fun about this? I don't know, you seem to be having a great time, but it's just a fidget spinner, so there must be something amazing. And they would continue to watch these fidget spinner videos and try and figure out, like, wow, it's so great. Like, it's cool. Everyone says it's cool. Everyone's buying them. Everyone's having a great time with them. And, I actually finally got a hold of one, not because I bought one. Like, man, they were selling them. There was, like, a little fair that came to town not too long ago, and they were selling these things for, like, $45. And I could not believe that people were buying fidget spinners for $45. Like, whoever owns the rights to that crap is probably making a killing on these things. It's embarrassing to all of society and humanity, and we should all be ashamed. But I got a hold of one because some company that one of Claudia's friends worked for bought a bunch of fidget spinners with, like, their logo on them. And they're giving them out as a promotional deal, because I think that really, if you buy them factory direct, they must be incredibly cheap. So they were just giving them out, like, as a promotional deal, like, hey, fidget spinners, whatever. And so this guy came in with, like, a couple of fidget spinners. He just had, like, a handful of them, and he was like, yeah, so my company is, like, just giving these away. And so I got a hold of one, and sure enough, like, you just flick the fidget spinner, and it just spins. Like, that's all it does. So he gave it to me, and I spun it for a little while, and then eventually got distracted by something that was more interesting, and I set it down, and I actually never really picked it up again. And anyone who tells you that, like, oh yeah, fidget spinners are these amazing stress relievers or whatever, that's the line that they're using to sell the thing. So it really is just all, like, did you fall into the marketing? And the person most likely to fall into, like, the marketing are, like, the young kids that are being targeted on YouTube. But anyway, though, kids are also responsible for other trends like this, these similar kind of things, where you're seeing, like, these Anna Elsa Frozen cartoons, which kind of made rounds on, there was some of them being posted on 4chan, on the My Little Pony channel, where they have, like, the My Little Pony Equestria Girls characters, but it's all, like, really weird, like, fetish pregnancy scat porn. So it's like, amazing My Little Pony Equestria Girls video, like, fantastical, wow. And then, like, you watch it and it's just, like, this awful, it's kind of gross, it's sort of inappropriate. The themes are all, like, Starlight, Bacon Hair, I don't even remember the names anymore. I've gotten confused. It's like Twilight Sparkle, Starlight Glimmer, Sunset Shimmer, Bacon Hair, Sunset Shimmer. She's like, oh, I'm jealous of Twilight, so I have sex with Flash and I get pregnant with his baby. And then, like, the whole, I don't know, they just keep, like, doing, like, oh, pregnancy, like, they love to hit the pregnancy thing. And then there's also, like I said, poop. Poop and pregnancy. They love this, and apparently kids are really into poop and pregnancy. Like poop, I understand. Pregnancy, I'm not so sure. Maybe pregnancy they're confused about, and they're just like, I don't know, pregnancy. Like we have lots of feelings and lots of opinions on pregnancy. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it is about those two fetishes, but they're really big on those awful channels. But again, though, it's a quirk of the system where the YouTube algorithm kind of looks at like, oh, this is probably a child. Like it figures this out. It looks at what they're doing. It's not really allowed to collect data on them, personal data, but it does collect their viewing habits, and it says like, oh, this account is watching like a lot of children's stuff. So I'm going to look for more children's stuff to push to them. I'm going to look for toy channels because, we want the kids to be advertised to. We want to show them toy advertisements. It's really advertiser friendly. The advertisers love this kind of stuff. They really appreciate when we play with their toys. And I'm going to look for other toyetic kind of things. So they look for, and this is actually why specifically we're getting Anna, Elsa Frozen or My Little Pony. Like you notice that there's also Pound Patrol, and that gets mixed in there. But Pound Patrol is really huge right now, and I think there's some of that, but or not Pound Patrol, Paw Patrol. Paw Patrol is what it was. Paw Patrol is like this other thing. It's kind of a toyetic sort of deal. The whole thing is it's actually a little bit amusing. Like their entire little town, if you watch the show, like everything in Paw Patrol looks like a playset. Like, and this I kind of appreciate this. Like a part of me is just like, yeah. Like, I don't know, the show just, like, designed itself to look like a toy. Like, they are definitely selling, like, this is the Paw Patrol playset right here. Like, if you go out and you buy this, like, I can totally see this being machined in a shop that, like, makes plastic crap. Like, this is a really easy thing to make. I can see that. So, these Paw Patrol toys, they're all really, they look exactly like the show. So there's no false advertising here. When you buy Paw Patrol toys, you are buying what exactly it looks like on the show. So, yes, Paw Patrol is there, but it's not as like widely recognized as Anna, Elsa Frozen, or rather, it's not as established of a brand. They're not quite as much, they haven't been around for quite as long as Hasbro or whatever. They're big right now, but they haven't been around for quite as long. But they are making an appearance. As for like other shows though, other kid shows, like you're not like seeing like Yo Gabba Gabba, maybe that's old, or Telltale. I don't know. Whatever else kids are watching, you're not really seeing a lot of that. You're mostly just seeing this toyetic crap because that's the stuff that YouTube wants to promote. It's this toyetic stuff, the things that advertisers want. Like the toy companies will pay to advertise their toys on toy advertisements. So they're just the kids are just being buried alive in toy advertisements basically. But anyway, though, yeah, it's all Anna, Elsa Frozen because, like, Disney is trying to sell Anna, Elsa Frozen toys, and so they're looking for, like, where do we want to advertise? Oh, we want to be seen on these, like, Anna, Elsa Frozen videos. When people are playing with Anna, Elsa Frozen toys, we want to advertise to these kids and say, like, hey, you can actually buy one of these toys for yourself. Here's how. And, same with, like, Hasbro's doing the same kind of thing. And it's really funny because... and it's probably not going to change anytime soon. Like, we're probably going to continue to see this awful atmosphere on YouTube where this is the biggest thing, this is the best way to make money. Because of the way that they can't do this on TV and they can do this on the internet. I think that based on the way that Hasbro handled the My Little Pony show, I believe that they would actually really just like to do a 30-minute infomercial where they would have some guy come in and they'd be like, yo, I'm selling pony toys. These are My Little Ponies. Come and buy this My Little Pony. Look at this Crystal Castle playset. Buy the Crystal Castle playset. Here's an amazing baby. Wow. Oh my God. And they would just and then you would have these kids come in and they would play and they'd be like, all right, everyone smile, have a really good time, make it look like you're having a great time. Other little kids will see how happy you are and they'll buy these toys. And 30 minutes of that's what they would do. But the law says they can't do that. You have to make a narrative. There's nothing against the law about having an established universe where everything is super sellable as a toy. But that's why Hasbro, though, they kind of ruined My Little Pony, was because they didn't really care about establishing a narrative. They didn't really want a story. They're not really trying to entertain. They're just trying to sell toys. And like I say, they don't really care how they're selling the toys. They just want the toys to be sold. So they were willing to undermine, this whole thing. Like Lauren Faust was like, oh, okay, so a train. Well, the ponies pull the train, and this is sort of a funny quirk. And that was clever, and we all liked that as adults. But Hasbro didn't like it because, they can't sell a toy if they have all these universe restrictions. Lauren Faust created all these rules revolving around her universe, and they were getting in the way of making the toy sets. So they just eliminate those rules, and then they just replace them with, toyetic crap. So yes, I think that's the way that most of these advertisers would like to go, and YouTube opens up this avenue. You also get to see this a lot with some of the bigger YouTube channels that aren't necessarily trying to be big, but it'll be like some of the drama channels are incredibly childish. They're not the best example. Those actually get big for a slightly different reason, mostly because drama attracts people. But another good example though was the guy who used to do Friendship is Witchcraft, Griffinilla. He's moved on to do sort of like musical stuff now. But what he does is he does music exploiting other people's IP. And most of what he does is illegal, but he exploits IP from IP holders who are not very protective of their brand, like Undertale, Freddy Fazbear, Five Nights at Freddy's, these kind of indie guys who got into things and they got really big, and they're not really like very trigger happy with lawsuits and stuff like that. They got big through the internet, promotion through the internet, and so they're not really out to go shoot things down. Like, if you think about it, Minecraft was kind of that way. Like, even though Notch got huge and became like this billionaire, when YouTube came to him and was like, hey, you could start stealing YouTube videos and you would make tons of money, Notch thought about it and then he turned him down. Like, the amount of money they promised him was a lot, he said, but he turned it down because he got big thanks to YouTube, thanks to Let's Players on YouTube, and he didn't want to turn around and stab that in the back. Like, he wanted to promote that culture because maybe, it's a good thing for people. So, Undertale, similar situation. Five Nights at Freddy's, same thing. Let's Players made it big. The internet culture made it big. And so if you turn around, you kind of betray that culture. If you stab it in the back and you start suing people, it's kind of like spitting in the face of what made you huge. And it discourages the community that was kind of built around your stuff. So he does this kind of thing where he exploits that. He's not really making it big, but he comes in after the fact, after it's already big, and sort of rides on its coattails to get views and content. But everything that he's doing though, like Five Nights at Freddy's, it's not exactly like super kid friendly, but as far as like a scary game, it's still kind of like it hits those lower demographics. Like, it's really not in practice all that scary. Like, it's not like gory. It's not telling too visceral of a story. Like, you say, oh, these kids died. And to a small child, that would be incredibly terrifying, I suppose. But it's really not like the creepiness. The most creepy factor of Five Nights at Freddy's is the visuals. Like, the animatronics look really scary, and then they just like leap out at you. The whole thing is just jump scares, and so that's kind of what gets people, is that they're not like incredibly scared of like the story, like they're not traumatized by it, but they just sit there in like nervous apprehension about the next jump scare. They're like, here it comes, another jump scare, it's coming up on me or whatever. And so it's kind of a kid-friendly game, and that's part of why it got huge, especially on YouTube in the current climate. And Undertale too. Like, Undertale has a lot of great things going for it. It had a wide appeal, but it's got a very kid-friendly kind of thing going for it, where the whole idea is that you're supposed to surrender to everyone and kind of togetherness and hugs and happiness, and we're all friends, and here's the silly skeleton, and da-da-da. And you can do the genocide route, and it's kind of dark, but it's like kid-friendly dark. It's like, oh, you're the bad guy, and everyone pulls together to stop you and whatever. But there's monsters all turned to dust. There's not really like a slaughter. It's just kind of like sad and dark, and so a little bit more kid-friendly, like a little bit older kids, because you have to get through the bullet hell type of things. But I'm not sure what the cutoff age would be for Undertale. So Undertale has a very broad demographic appeal, but kids are again fairly easy to exploit too. And I was watching one of Griffinilla's Fandroid Let's Plays, and there's no clever commentary really there. And this is just kind of like one of those things. Like, I would be lying if I said it didn't make me just a little bit bitter to watch his videos just doing so well. Because, even when he was doing Friendship is Witchcraft, like, I used to mock them for kind of having a low common denominator sort of humor. Like, they would just get up there and they wouldn't really have a lot of structure. They would just say, like, I am a robot. And then they would have to, like, deal with that. There wasn't really, like, a plan. There wasn't really sort of an internal commentary. Like, I did Thrakkerzod, and the reason why we had Thrakkerzod was because, the Cutie Mark Crusaders were this amusing paradox to me, where they were like, yeah, we want to be just like everyone else, in that we want to get our special talent that makes us stand out and be unique. And so it was kind of this funny, like, catch-22, is they wanted to be unique, so they were trying to be like everyone. They wanted to be unique so that they would be like everyone else. And that was why they weren't going to get their cutie marks, is because they were trying to be like everyone else. And the point of the cutie mark is that it's what makes you special. So I like this whole idea of, like, yeah, so Thrakkerzad, she's like an eldritch horror who's trying to blend in as well as possible by doing the most average possible thing. Like, she's just painfully, she's trying to be painfully common, and is just already, as it is, incredibly unique. And so she's just fighting this like, so she stands out like a sore thumb, but is just trying her damnedest to be as like, and her friends are like trying to motivate her to be unique, and she doesn't really want to be unique, and so she's kind of like going along with it because, yes, like all children, I would love to stand out, but not too much. Like, I want to stand out just enough to be socially acceptable and pass under the radar. So yeah, and then there's also that sort of like coming of age of like going through changes and all this stuff, and I don't know, Sweetie Belle, like, it was a good fit. And then we had Scootaloo was our other characterization, was because she was like that rowdy kid that, grows up like her family. She's got like that older brother or whatever who teaches her things she shouldn't know. Like we never see Scootaloo's parents, so I just kind of really like the idea of Scootaloo being kind of this little problem causer, this little instigator. This is why she was depicted as being just, hoot Scootaloo. Because she doesn't have any parents. Like, we never know where her parents are. Like, I kind of like the idea that Scootaloo does have parents. Like, she does technically have a home to go to, but she only checks in on her family, like, once a month or whatever. And like, they never really know where she is. Like, she just knows a bunch of things she shouldn't know. She gets into stuff she shouldn't get into. Like, she's just running around. She's a little street urchin. and just, terrible influence. The other parents don't like her, but they can't get her to go away because her, I don't know, she's Scootaloo. She goes where Scootaloo wants to go. So, yes, we had reasons for characterizing them the way that we did, but they were just, just all random, like that low common denominator. But even then, even when they were just doing kind of like lol random stuff with Friendship as Witchcraft, it was at least on a higher level than what Fandroid kind of is. Fandroid really is just literally going for fads, and going for fads that are kid-friendly. Like I say, like, he's just playing these video games, and I realized not very long into it that essentially all he's doing is he's advertising these video games, and they're kid-friendly video games at that. So he's playing like Plants vs. Zombies, and he's sitting there, and his commentary is not like, he's not making like really clever jokes. He's just like, wow, that is amazing! This is really amazing! I love to collect the sun. I am the happiest robot ever. Wow, that guy's a robot, just like me. I too am a robot. And it's not very good entertainment for like an adult, like sitting there watching it. I'm just like, man, like, I see what he's doing and I understand why it works, but he's really just, I don't know. It just like I say, incredibly bitter. Not really like towards him, but just kind of towards the whole, like, man, what works? Like, I know that works. He knows that works, but he went for it. And I'm just mad that that's the way that it is. I don't want that to be the paradigm. I don't want that to be what I do. I'm really mad though that this is what you have to do on YouTube, or one of the ways that you can get big. It feels like it shouldn't work, or it shouldn't be allowed to work, and yet it does, because kids are just very easy to exploit. And if you're willing to exploit children, you can get big on YouTube. So yes. I don't know, in the current political climate, I have no idea if they're actually going to clamp down on this anytime in the near future. I mean, gosh, it feels like everything's just a mess, and I have no idea exactly how much they care about it. But of course, people got tired of the call for morality and entertainment. But there is a limit. YouTube can't. I don't feel like YouTube can continue going the way that they are for a couple of different reasons. One is that they actually are kind of killing off traditional media. And I never really thought that I would side with like Viacom on this stuff, and I'm not siding with them all the way. They're oppressive. Like, a lot of the big media companies are trying to ruin the internet. Don't really have like our best interest at heart. But when they talk about how YouTube is able to upload their content without paying them, it is actually a legitimate thing. And in the past, I would have said, well, get with the program, start releasing your own stuff on the internet so we can all watch it, Netflix has been really great for that. Like, you can just on demand watch anything that you want. And in my opinion, that should be the future of like entertainment, is you should be able to just on demand watch anything you want. Like, I don't really care about watching in your particular time slot. I want access to your shows when I want to watch them. Don't tell me when I have to watch them. I want to watch them when I want to watch them. I want to watch them according to my schedule. It's so much more convenient. It's so much better. I don't know that's better for media companies, but that's the product that people really want. So you kind of have to go in that direction. But the trouble is that with platforms like YouTube, which can just upload your stuff illegally, it doesn't matter what you do, because if you put your stuff out there, then YouTube will just re-upload it and they'll take ad revenue. And if you're on Content ID, they share some of the ad revenue with you. But as I can attest, that ad revenue is just peanuts. Like, it's not really enough to keep a big company like that afloat. They can't survive on it. And the reason why I don't say, well, get with the program anymore is because the program is really stupid and exploitative. So big companies can't make serious entertainment. They can't write like serious or meaningful stories if the thing that's going to do well, the only thing that's really going to do well, is stuff that's trying to exploit kids or trying to exploit like pre-existing brands, because the amount of money that you need to put in to make a brand big, like you need to do a lot of advertising, you're going to get less back from YouTube, because YouTube's trying to make a profit, right? So if you put a lot of money into YouTube trying to sell your idea, then YouTube's going to come back and you're going to get, you put in $1 and you get, 20 cents back. Probably less, actually. You put in $1, you get like, a cent back. It's really not good returns. And if they had to switch over to that model, they would all sink. Like, there's no way that, and then everything that we would see on YouTube would just be this kind of like exploitative, child-friendly type of stuff. And as far as like, can this be the media paradigm that we survive in goes, I don't think that there's any kind of like real long-term potential there. It's not like it could be a system that we live in. I mean, like, if it were just allowed to take over. I don't think it's what will happen. I mean, like, I think that Netflix will continue to sort of grow and be the thing that people turn to. It'll be what people consider like real entertainment. Like, nobody took YouTube Red seriously. YouTube Red came out and they were like, hey, what if you paid for YouTube and we continued to be awful? And no one really bought into that, because it's sort of like, who wants to pay to watch PewDiePie? Like, realistically, he's nothing special. He's not really very high budget. He's not really all that entertaining in practice. The only reason he's big is because YouTube kind of made him big. So as soon as YouTube starts asking for money, no one wants to pay for this low-quality, exploitative garbage. It's all kind of about exploiting stuff and not really about making high-quality entertainment. Whereas Netflix has been working on stuff like BoJack was really good, and Stranger Things has been really good. They've had some hits and they've had some misses, but they're doing this stuff, and like BoJack did well, I think, for the platform, and Stranger Things also did really well. Like, I recommend both if you haven't seen them. And if they continue to do stuff like this, and it continues to draw people in, like I would honestly say that a Netflix subscription, at least for a little while, is worth it just to watch some of the shows that they're putting out. If they continue in that direction, then Netflix will be where serious entertainment is, and then Google will just be, stupid crap that eventually needs to be regulated into non-existence because it's really just bad for society, I guess. I don't know. Not regulated into non-existence, of course. It's useful, it's valuable. I mean, like, it's this hosting platform that everybody kind of benefits from, but it's the way that it runs itself is very, it's very detrimental. And I think we're going to continue to see legal fights over just exactly how it's allowed to run itself, because Google is really making it into kind of the worst possible monster. And I guess that makes sense. Like, this is kind of one of those rules where anytime you have a monopoly, and they're allowed to just sort of do whatever they want, eventually they become terrible and they need to be stopped. But it may be quite a while. Like, with entertainment, there's not that palpable feeling, like, especially with free entertainment. Like, most people are not paying directly for these kinds of programs, so there's not that palpable feeling of, like, this needs to be stopped. Unless you're a content creator, in which case you're just like, oh my god, like, this is just getting worse and worse every day. But if you're like a person, if you're like it's not like the train system where, you have to ride the rails and the trains are getting more and more expensive and we can't do this, or like the medical system where you have to get medicine and everyone's just saying, like, I can't afford the system to keep being like this. There's not that pressure there. So Google could probably get away with this for a long time. But, it's just sort of a weird system, and we're going to continue to see more exploitation. We're not going to see a rising incline. We're going to see, like Frederator kind of went bust. And I think that gradually we're going to continue to see, maybe if not for Patreon, we're going to see maybe like small independent people still being able to survive thanks to platforms like Patreon. But big companies like Frederator are not going to be able to hold together. You're not going to see like huge growth necessarily unless they're able to get so big that they move off of YouTube and become kind of their own sort of platform. Like BuzzFeed, for example, is a good. They're probably the type of thing that would form. But then BuzzFeed, of course, they're very clickbaity. You know, they survive kind of by just trying to generate as much traffic, and they're still kind of playing YouTube's game because they've got to work within the search engine. So yes, I mean, like Google having almost full control of all of this really does. It's changed the face of the internet, and you know, they'll probably continue to change the face of the internet for a long time. What they think should go is kind of what goes, and what they want to go is really maybe not healthy. So I don't know. But anyway, that's why fidget spinners. And when the next big stupid fad comes out, it's going to be the same thing. It's mostly going to be kids that are driving this force, and it'll be kids who don't know better. And everyone will be like, everyone over the age of like 13 will just be shrugging. They'll just be like, I don't know, like I don't get the appeal. Like I don't get why this is a huge fad. Because I think adults kind of pick it up ironically at some point, or some of them genuinely like it. Like some of them are like, oh yeah, fidget spinners are cool. But I think a lot of adults kind of look at it and they're like, yeah, fidget spinners, and they just kind of like it's a joke to them, whereas kids are taking it seriously. So, yeah, I don't know. Weird. I don't know where it's going to go. I'm not optimistic about it currently, but like I say, at least there's Netflix. At least Amazon's coming out with The Tick. I'm looking really forward to that. I think that's actually coming out this weekend. So The Tick, live action The Tick on Amazon Prime. I watched the pilot. I have some mixed reviews of it. Might be average out of 10, but I'm still going to watch it because I love The Tick, and so maybe it'll actually pick up. It looks like it has strong potential, and I'm really looking forward to The Tick. So yeah, I'll watch The Tick. Maybe I'll talk about The Tick in the future. So yes, that'll be it for today. Thanks for joining me, everybody. I'll catch you all next time.